I'd like to welcome you guys to this week's report. It is Thursday, October 11th. We're having some nice fall weather here. Finally getting away from that just stubborn heat all the time. It's not exactly cool today, but it's kind of nice and cool in the mornings, which kind of gives it a little bit of a fall feel. Had a little bit of wind to deal with at the Channel Islands and at the offshore banks this week, but going into the weekend, everything looks pretty nice everywhere. I think Saturday is probably the better of the 2 days, even though the wind Sunday is very light also. Yeah, lots of cover, so let's head up to the Channel Islands. You know, up here we're catching a lot of rockfish mostly. They, you know, like I said, it's been windy and the boats are getting off the dock, have been bag fillers. And I'm sure you can go up there and catch a bass if you wanted to. There's still some bluefin up that way, at least there was a week ago. I don't really think those things would have left that zone yet. I looked at the SST chart, and the water just below Santa Cruz Island and also down at the 17 below there looks very similar to the water that's out at Cortez and Tanner where those bluefin are being caught. So I don't think water temperature will be an issue. As long as there's bait around there, those fish will possibly still stick around. I talked to my friend Pat, who runs the Aloha Spirit. He says those things have been parked in that zone for a couple months now. So maybe you can get one last shot of them before they go away for the season. This weekend might be a good time to do it. I'll cover more offshore stuff later, but I'm going to head down to San Clemente Island. Finally got a little bit of coverage over the weekend. My friend Gary Reyes ran out there. Yeah, it looks like he had okay fishing. You know, I'm used to him having a bunch of giants every time he goes out there. And from the photos I saw, while the bass are nice size, they're not. It doesn't look like it was a home run. But yeah, that island can be pretty fickle at times, and it seems like bass in general right now aren't biting all that great, as we'll notice here as we go into Catalina Island, where I actually, on Tuesday afternoon, I fished Palos Verdes, and I ran into my friend Benny Florentino, who had left the west end of Cat to go to Palos Verdes because it was slow enough. He did get one nice bass there, and I don't know, a few more at Cat, but when you're leaving Catalina to go fish PV, you know it's not great fishing over there. I know there's still some bonita down on the east end front side. Yeah, you might be able to scratch something together out there. It's they have a lot of problems over there with no conditions and water clarity this week, especially on the west end. And that's kind of similar to what we faced at PV on Tuesday. We got out there in the afternoon, and at Point Fermin, it was probably 40-foot visibility all the way up to the closure at Marineland. There we had 30 to 40-foot viz and a few bites, but no fish at all. And then we got up past the closure and we found a spot that had some off-color water, and we started getting bites. Sadly, the fish were really keyed in on tiny bait, and as they will sometimes do when they're keyed in on a tiny bait, they will not commit to your lure properly. And that was really the case Tuesday. I think Matt and I probably went through, I don't know, 20, 25 bites to get 2 fish. Yeah, you know it's bad. We go up there at PB, get 2 fish, but we kind of read the writing on the walls and pulled the plug on it. And one of the other things, it went from being a nice hot sunny day at noon until 1 o'clock. Then by 2 or 3 o'clock, it was completely overcast, drizzling, and breezy. So we cut the day really short. I think we fished about 2 hours, 2.5 hours total. Just wasn't worth it. Speaking of not worth it, I ran down to the Newport pipe with Decker on Sunday, and it was bad too. You know, we found some bass biting on the pipe, but the only thing they went in was a lure down near the bottom, or at least further down to the crankbait would run. We cranked for quite a bit of time and never really saw anything, and then put on some gulp jerk shads, made a few casts. We're getting bites like 30, 35 feet down on the jerk shad, but it's not really wasn't that fun, not enough to keep going. So we looked around for something that would be a crankbait, and then we finally done some spots real shallow on the beach there, and 20 feet of water, and had pretty good fishing. We got a couple on the DD100 crankbaits and jerk shad there as well. But that was another trip where we launched at 6 and we were back in the harbor by 10. It just socked in fog all morning, just miserable. And it was so foggy Sunday morning that we actually had to follow our track line to get out of the harbor. Couldn't see a boat on either side of the moorings or anything like that. So if it's forecast for fog anytime, you should definitely be wary of that. And speaking of Newport Harbor, the Balboa Angling Club is having their Bay Bass Open this weekend. It's a private boat event. You can have up to 3 anglers in your boat. You catch your 3 biggest spotties over 14 inches. You weigh them at the Balboa Angling Club. You do not need to be a club member. And that's on Saturday. I think lines at 6, lines out at like 2 o'clock or something. And then on Sunday they have an awards party at the Balboa Angling Club, which is a lot of fun. You guys sit on the dock. They'll probably barbecue, have drinks, all the other stuff. If you're interested in doing it, I don't know the exact pricing. For a team of 3, it's $150. It might be $100 for 2. I'm not exactly sure how that breaks down, but you can go to the Balboa Angling Club Facebook page. They have instructions there. You can call the club. They open at 12:30 tomorrow, Friday, and they're open till 6. Or you can just show up the morning of and just reach out to Jimmy Decker on Channel 65 on the radio, and I'm sure he'll get you signed up last minute. This is a fun event. It's just for a club fundraiser. So there's trophies, prizes, things like that. No cash payout, but it's a really fun event, and it's something we do every year. And it gets about 15 to 25 boats. Not a super competitive atmosphere like some of the bass tournaments. It's just a fun, friendly thing. So if you're interested, come check it out. So heading down south, my friend Tom Troop and his son Cash went out and fished sand bass caligos on the Imperial Beach Pipe over the weekend. Had really good fishing. Ran into a little bit of the weather on Sunday. It was a little breezy down there. But they reported good fishing down there. And that area down there, from now until spring, they'll consistently bite normally. That's usually an area where, just like any of the deeper water structure spots up here in the Long Beach area, you can pretty consistently go and catch fish. Those guys fish hookup baits, which is a great way to target those fish when they're stripping down. I prefer an MC slug, MC swim baits, 8-inch slug on a lead head. But everybody's got their own preference. They both work well. And I'm going to kick off the offshore thing talking about Tom and his son Cash. They went out to San Diego the weekend before, and I'll tell you what, those guys on that boat, they work hard, man. They ran all the way out past 43 to get those guys on fish, and they caught fish. They got 30-pound class, yellowfin and bluefin. They had really good fishing, and one of the things that Tom stressed was changing your bait was the key to success. And I want to talk a little bit about changing your bait on these sport boats. We're getting to that time of year now where those fish are, you find schools, they'll come up on a chum, it'll be a plunker bite. It's not that run and gun fishing like they have earlier in the year, especially with the yellowfin. Fish will stick around the boat. So, to understand what changing your bait means and how to fish and where to fish, you really need to understand what the boat is doing and how you're relating to the boat and how the fish are relating to the boat and everything else. So you're on a sport boat, you're either trolling or they're running around looking for meter marks, right? So you hook a troll fish or they meter a school and the boat slows to a stop, they start chumming. As the boat is sliding to a stop, the chum gets out behind the boat, the fish come up behind the boat as well, and the guys that drop back a sardine, as that's happening, get a shot of the bite, okay? But a mistake the guys make when they do that is they'll drop back and they'll just keep dropping back forever. And what's happening is they're dropping their bait back to where the chum started, but the boat is sliding forward, and as they're chumming more, the chum is moving away from the bait, so now your bait is way back behind where the chum is happening and where the fish are up feeding. So your bait might be back 200 feet and the fish are 100 feet behind the boat. They're not going to go back and eat your bait. Now, once the boat stops, what happens? It's going to drift. And most sport boats drift on a partial stern down direction. So they kind of go stern first. They don't go straight stern first, but they don't go sideways exactly either, just due to the shape of the boat. If you've noticed, when you do the tuna shuffle, you go down to the upwind or downwind corner, you cast your bait, you walk across the stern, and what happens? Everybody starts doing a tuna shuffle up the side of the boat towards the bow. Why are they doing that? Because their line's going to the bow because the boat is drifting at an angle. So it's kind of drifting with the, if it's got the starboard side of the wind, it's drifting on with the port corner leading. So think about what the chum is doing here. They're chumming off the back. The fish are behind the boat. They're not getting every bait fish. So you see boiled behind the boat. Guys casting bait off the corner getting bit. Now the bait that's not getting eaten by a tuna is either swimming up under the boat or drifting up at a 45-degree angle from the boat towards the up current side, which means that bait is not getting very far away from the boat. So the guys that have put their sardine in and have their rod pointed at it and are mindlessly letting current and drift pull line off the reel, their bait is as useless as the bait that the guy dropped back on the slide and ended up way behind the fish. So if you're fishing, I'm going to look at it a couple ways. Pardon me. If I'm on a sport boat fishing bait, and I know I don't fish bait, but I spent a huge percentage of my life fishing bait, and I was actually pretty good at it. If I am on a sport boat and we are beatering around or we are trolling, I am lingering by the bait tank with my rod in my hand and my hook between my fingers so that I am ready that if the captain says something, as soon as that chum hits the water, I can watch, and as the boat slows to a stop, I can grab a sardine, pin it on, nose hook it, drop it back, and keep it where the chum is. So I'm dropping it back. If the boat's sliding, I'm not just free spooling. I'm dragging the bait along with me, free spooling it, stop and drag it along with me. That way it's keeping it where that chum is. If I hook a fish there, great. If I don't hook a fish there, I will settle down and I will go away until all the guys that were all excited to cast out have casted out and begun their tuna shuffle up the side. Usually the first boils you see are the ones on the corner where the deckhand is chumming. So I'm going to be standing by there to butt hook a bait, which is, on the sardine, you hook right above the anal fin. If you're not comfortable with that, you can hook it underneath the pectoral fins, or even nose hook it if you want. But once that happens, I start seeing these boils. Now I'm going off that corner, the up or downwind corner, where you're supposed to start your thing, and I'm underhand lobbing that bait out, and it is hitting the water, swimming away from me. So once that happens, I'm bringing my rod up to a 45-degree angle, and I'm feeling my spool, and I want to make sure that I'm feeling this bait pulling against my line with a tail beat. A lot of times you cast that bait out, and if it lands at the wrong angle, it won't swim right back to the boat. So while you may have line going out, that's probably just a drifter. Everything else, keep your baits back under the boat. You want to be in contact with that tail beat. So by having the rod up, all I have to do is stop the spool and lift it, a few degrees, and I can feel that's there. Spin the spool back, let it go again, and swim. If I don't get a bite within the first 20 or 30 seconds, I'm usually going to be changing my bait. That doesn't sound like a lot of time compared to the guys who have their line out there forever. But once that bait stops actively swimming and you don't feel that tail beat anymore, a tuna's not going to eat that bait. It's going to be laying there dead with a hook in its gut, and it's not going to be a productive thing. Same thing with the nose hook bait. Once the current has taken over or the drift has taken over, and that's what's pulling line off your reel, you're in the midst of 30 other guys doing the same thing, and you're probably not going to get bit. So you ask, how long does 20 or 30 seconds last, realistically? I'm casting that bait off the corner. I'm letting it go out. I'm walking around with the rest of the guys as I'm letting this bait go out. It's easy because you get your rod up. Everybody else has their rod down. And about the time I get to the other corner, or maybe level with the bait tank, up the side, that's as long as I'm going to fish a bait. Once you get past the bait tank on the drift side, you're basically in what I also consider no man's land. And while there may be 10 bites a day up in that zone, there's probably 200 baits being soaked by those same guys throughout the day in that zone for 10 bites. Not a very high percentage play, and so you have no control over what's going to happen. You're just at the mercy of luck at that point. So what happens? You get a longer drift now, and those guys that have the longer drift and the line's out in the middle of nowhere are starting to get some bites up off the bow of the boat, up the side. So rather than nose hook a bait, start at the corner, do the tuna shovel for 8 minutes, 10 minutes to get up to where those guys are getting bit. I will simply take a sardine, run to the bow, butt hook it, and flip it right off the bow, and suddenly you have an active, lively bait swimming away from the boat in an area where these fish are, because the chum has drifted up that way because the boat's drifting stern first, and now you're doing the same thing. You are feeling it, and you're feeling the tail beat of that bait. One of two things is going to happen. You're going to get a bite, or you'll stop feeling that tail beat, and when either of those happens, you're going to either fight a fish, or you're going to go back to the bait tank, grab another bait, run up there and do it again. It's a lot of work, but you're going to get a lot more bites per minute. Not that you're getting a bite a minute, but let's say you go do the long soak thing, and you might stand there all day and get 1 or 2 bites, or you do what I'm doing and you might get 5 or 6 bites. Or you might find yourself, hey, in this situation, it's not even worth it for me to stand there at the rail, because I've already done the things where I know that if there's biting fish around, they're going to bite. So let me just go have a beer or a cheeseburger or something and kick back and not worry about it. So it's my insight. I know if you guys have other opinions, I always welcome them in the comments, but I'm not an expert. I'm just sharing the information that I have. So please, if you guys have something else or a better idea, let me know, and I'll talk about it again next week.
Starting to get a few bites?
Nibble, nibble!
Dude, that's a burly one. Still biting. Get out of the frame, Randy. That's a nice one. Yeah.
I caught it. I can be in the frame. How big is it?
I don't know.
Do you have a way to tape it?
Just run away.
Jesus.
Oh, no,
Now you have to change all your clothes. That's disgusting.
So, those bluefin and yellowfin, they're basically from the corner all the way up to the west end of Cat and probably beyond there. There's not a lot of boats fishing them out of Long Beach area. I know the boats that are going out up here are occasionally seeing fish and catching fish. It's just a lot of water to cover with very few boats doing it right now. I've held off from going, so I'm kind of boycotting tuna right now. They've been stupid all year, and well, at least to me. But if you're going on your own boat, at this time of year, you're not always going to see foamers, and you probably won't see foamers. You'll see breezers, you'll see spots of dolphin. If you see a spot of dolphin, look for one that has turns on it. Hopefully at the leading edge of the dolphin, usually a really good indicator that tuna are on them. Another good indicator with dolphin is when they're slapping their tail on the water like that, very fast, just like a machine gun pounding it. I believe that they're trying to scare the tuna away to keep them off their bait that they're feeding on. So a lot of times when I've caught tuna, the dolphins have been doing that. I haven't seen many dolphin schools where they're doing that and there's not tuna under them. So not a sure thing, but definitely an opportunity. You can go throw a popper on those dolphins. You don't need bait. Same thing with a breezer or a shiner or a bluefin. Even a spot with just some turns diving. Concentrating on bait fish in a real tight area or shear waters. A lot of times you don't need to see a fish to throw a lure in there. You can maybe get a bite. It's a nice grade of fish up here. My buddies Gary Reyes, Jay Jones, and Mike Stemmerich went out last week. I couldn't report back because I was doing my SoCal Bight Fishing Academy, but they had a couple nice yellowfin topwater lures up there just out by themselves, just looking around the skiff. So if I were going out tuna fishing out of San Diego or Newport or anywhere else, I would check my SST chart right now, look for the areas that might have some edges of water. There's a lot of fish scattered around. And if there's nothing really standing out to me, I would just run from the edges of the banks and ridges and things that are nearby and kind of get a feel for what I see once I'm out there. Glass around, keep moving the boat. And the good news is now you don't have a million boats out there you have to fight with. So if you see other boats around, look at them in the glasses, see what they're doing. And if they're actively fishing or catching something, then go look around somewhere else a mile or a half mile away and you'll probably find more fish. So, yeah, I really hope to see some of you guys at the Balboa Angling Club tournament this weekend, and good luck if you're fishing. I hope you catch a couple ounces less than I do. And if you're not fishing and you are fishing somewhere, I wish you good luck, and I'll talk to you guys next week.